Why do I feel that? Oh, for a fact. Damn it. Oh. Hey guys, it's Bernard here, and in today's video we will be doing a segment of what I call nursing story time. Basically, this segment is for edutainment purposes, and I'll preface to say that this is basically going to be a summary of short stories of my life in nursing. If this is your first time checking out my channel, consider subscribing as I share my perceptions of life, of what it is to be a father, actor, and a nurse. Anyways, let's roll the intro, and I will see you guys on the other side. Okay. So, anyways, guys, today's story is really interesting. As you probably can tell from the intro, or the title of the story, is that I saved a life off duty. Okay? And I preface to say it's very, very interesting. And I will also preface again to say that this is for edutainment purposes. So, take this however you like. But please don't blast me. Please don't blast me, because either way, I felt like I really did a good job. Reluctantly, like, I went into, look, guys, side note, I freaked out initially with the story that I'm about to tell you, okay? Like, because, anyways, where was I? Alright, so, basically, it is November 2020, Brisbane last year. And I was on a bus. We just lifted restrictions. And I was coming back from the library because I was working on stuff for a production. I take the bus from the city to go back to where I was basically on my way home. I get this bus. And, you know, bus ride was fine. And then, like, as I board the bus, I see, like, several rows behind me, there's this guy, and he's got a mask on. He's quite old. He's not a very light person at all. He was quite big. And for whatever reason, he looked like to me at the time he was sleeping. I'll also preface to say that this bus was actually coming from a public hospital. That's where its starting point was, basically. So I get on, and I ride the bus, and we finally get to another stop where, in Brisbane, called South Bank. And all of a sudden, there's this big, like, snort or a snarl of some kind from the gentleman. So I'm like several seats ahead, mask on because our restrictions had just been lifted, and it was like this. Sorry guys, the camera died, so now we're in a different setup. So anyways, this guy, there's a snarl, and like for a moment, like everyone goes quiet and everyone's kind of chill. But this guy, I need to show this for effect. Remember guys, edutainment purposes. So he like keeps falling into his seat. And then there's like two guys, one on each seat, two ahead of him. And they're like, I don't think this guy's waking up. So like one of them, like this other guy, I think he's like American. He's like, hey buddy, what are you doing? Are you awake? And like the guy who's like keeling over basically in the chair, he wasn't rousable. They couldn't tell if he was breathing or if there was a pulse or anything like that. So the bus completely stops. And at that moment, there's a guy where they're like trying to rouse him. They're like, hey buddy, wake up. Do you know where you are? All these sorts of things. And nothing is getting through to this guy. To the point of where they start using like a stimulus response, like a pain stimulus response. But it's not kind of just any kind of normal stimulus response. This is what it looks like. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like you're not warranting a pain response, you're actually assaulting the guy. Anyways, so someone finally has the guts, and they're like, we need to call an ambulance, something or other. And then the guy, the bus driver himself, he's in panic mode. He doesn't even know what he's doing himself. He's like, should I call an ambulance? Should I call an ambulance? And someone was like, someone call an ambulance! And then, so like they call 000, and then like these guys are like still trying to like snap him out of it. And I'm like, just like watching, and I'm still like in like panic mode myself, because I don't even know what to do at this point. I'm freaking out myself. And so they finally got on, like anyways, they finally get patched through to someone like over 000. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, start doing compressions. And it's so weird, like as these guys are like talking to this lady on the other line, it was like push 1, 2, 3, 4, and then like it was like this, just boom, boom, like this, boom, like that. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are they just doing like 30 and 2 or something? And then this American guy goes like, oh, I'd give him like mouth to mouth if, you know, we weren't in the pandemic. I'm like, you don't need to do that. In my mind, and I'm still like stuck and frozen. And they're like literally just going boom, boom. And like this guy, this American guy, and this other guy are like just taking turns. And like the person on the other line, they're like, oh, is he on the ground? And they're like, no, he's on the chair still. I was like, we need to move him to the floor. And then I was like, okay, I think this is like, all right guys, I'll help. Let's just help get him on the floor. And then I just start going to town on this guy. On the chest, 30 compressions, you know, whatever. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just like going. I'm like something in me was like, just like exploded. And you know, it's one of those moments where I think even as a nurse, where even when you get code blue situations or any other kinds of situations, like when you should act. Because even in the safety confines of your workplace, you never really know until you really start doing, like, intervening. So I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then all of a sudden, this guy, the American guy is like, are you sure you know what you're doing? And I'm like, have you done this before? Are you a healthcare professional? And I didn't say I was a nurse. I was like, I just watched a lot of medical dramas. and I'm going, like, I'm like not stopping. And so everyone else gets off the bus. And another lady, I think she was like South American or something, because she had a very like sort of Spanish kind of like accent or whatever. But she's like, oh, please, sir, like, let me help. I know that sounds really bad. I don't really like, that sounds so bad. And for the lady who actually like helped us, who helped me on that day, thank you so much, because I was getting exhausted. I was like compressing on this guy, and then she's like, sir, let me help. And then, so I was like, okay, after I reach 30, I want you to like do what I just did. And then so she's like going for it. And like the bus driver, he's still in panic. He's like, how old is he? Because I think like, he called another 000 as well, and like trying to give information. Like we had like no time to give any kind of information. We couldn't find anything on this guy at the time, at least while like I was doing compressions, and then like the two guys who were like basically assaulting him and the American guy both got off. So it was just me and this like South American girl like really working on this guy, and then someone from like the bus services who was like first aid trained like really like got in there and helped us. So like I kept on going after like a couple sets of like the South American girl, and then I jumped back on, and I was like getting so tired. I was so sweaty. Like it was warm for November on that day from what I recall. And it gets to a point where like we're getting really, really tired. I think we're probably about like 10-15 minutes in, and I'm like exhausted. I'm like sweating through my mask, but we're still going. Anyways, so then like the bus services lady, she's like, I've got a defib, like portable defib machine. I'm gonna go grab it. And I'm like, I wish we got it sooner. Not really, but I was just like, okay, we'll just keep going. And like in that time of like the span of like 5 minutes of like the South American girl and I like just swapping over constantly, the lady with a defib machine from the bus services finally gets back on the bus, and then like I was like, oh, I'm not too sure what to do, but I was like, here, let me help you with the machine, because I just swapped over. And then I was like, I'm gonna put this on this guy, like right here, like this. Chauffeur effect, wait, left side, guys. The thing, oh my gosh, this is the worst edutainment video ever. Please don't thumbs down me, because I'm really trying. Anyways, so we put the defib monitors on him, and then we finally get like a break, and then so the machine calibrates, it assesses the whole thing, and we're doing compressions. And then finally, after like rotating compressions constantly, we get to a point where the paramedics arrive, and I'm like, oh man. Not only did we still have to like do compressions, but we actually ended up having to help get the guy off the bus to actually, you know, give more support. It was the most interesting it was the most interesting part of my day. And it's scary sometimes being like as a nurse, and like even when you're on like the ward and like things happen, you know, you're never really too sure until you like start doing it. But once like you come up with an idea or an intervention, like it's all hands on deck, and those things kind of just like flood back and forth for you. I'm gonna put this guy down now. Because as a result, as far as I know, I don't know if he made it or not. I don't. But as far as I know, I saw that like the paramedic teams, they had hooked him up to some like IV fluids. I kind of really stuck around for a while until they were actually gone. But I would be saying that if they got him stable enough to get him onto like a wagon, thank you for this guy, for this learning experience. Anyways, I'm gonna put him down. And so basically, in hindsight, you know, like nursing's hard. It really, really is. And so, you know, like for myself as well, like when you're a clinical nurse, there's moments to moments of when things can go really, really bad. They can take you mentally. But, you know, sometimes in the confines of a ward environment, at least you know you're safe. sometimes it's kind of really, really hard in the public, because I guess one of the things that you kind of have to deal with is that, you know, not only do you feel like you have a duty of care, you just want to make sure that that person makes it. And you know, you may or may not always make the best decisions when I guess in certain situations. But in hindsight, I'm hoping that the guy did make it. I mean, they did get him to a bed. They were able to get him up to the fluids. I don't think they shocked him. I can't remember vaguely if they shocked him or not. But as far as I saw, the compressions had stopped and the IV fluids were going and all that sort of stuff. So I pray that like he did make it. And you know, as far as my own sort of level of I guess initiative or proactiveness to try and do something in and of those moments, reflectively, you know, you can always be a bit hesitant at first. And so I think the takeaway is, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think I said this in like a previous video where like in terms of like whether it's like social interactions and all those sorts of things, and it all involves like skills with like life. My Code Blue experiences are very different from anyone else's, and they're always going to be different. So anyways, that's all I have for for nursing story time. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you guys want to see more edutainment or interesting stories from my life as a nurse, and I'd be happy to share it with you. Anyways, guys, as I leave you as always, blessings, come good or bad, it is the call to action what makes a difference. Click here for my most recent video, and click here for my most recent video for Daddy Daughter Tuesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Daddy Daughter Tuesday, or I'll see you guys in the next video.